Now then, one of the dishes I want to show you how to do is how to marry land and sea together. Land and sea. Well, we're going to do clams. Yeah, vongole, we call them in Italy. They're beautiful, these ones. These are known as vongole veraci, they're local. They have already been purged. So one of the things you need to make sure when you're buying them is that they have been purged. What does that mean? It means that they need to be put in salt water to get rid of all the sand that's in them. Otherwise you get a very gritty dish. We'll make a risotto, and what we're going to be using is these beautiful oyster mushrooms, okay? Now, these are farmed, in full disclosure, but they do this on rotting chestnuts. So they put a plug in the wood and they let them grow naturally. So they're not full of anything funny. I love these ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these up. These we need to check. Always check your clams, make sure there's not a dead one in there. So we're going to go over to the sink and give them a scene to, and then we're going to saute them in garlic and extra virgin olive oil. All right, very simple. And obviously we're going to add a very generous splash of white wine to it, just to get a little bit more juice. If you're not particularly sure of what you're doing, get the fishmonger to check them before you walk home. All right, so that you know 100% there's no funny ones in there. The last thing you want is a funny clam. Garlic, I would say these are quite big cloves, but I do like garlic, so I'm going to go 2. All right, I'm not particularly fussy about how I go about my garlic, but I do like removing this because sometimes it flakes up and it ends up in your dish and so I like it like that. Up to you how you do it. This is local. It's farmed here in a place called Sant'Agnello. In fact, I go to these orchards often because it's all local produce, and the outcome is always more felicitous when you have local produce bought close to home. Now, you do have to bring the olive oil up to temperature before you put the clams in. Okay, it's not you put them in there cold. Now, as you can see, this is olive oil. It's very green and it's cloudy. It's a beautiful olive oil. And the reason why it's cloudy is because it was done literally only a few weeks ago. And so all the phytonutrients, the vitamin E and all that other stuff, which is spectacular antioxidants and all those lovely phytonutrients, are in suspension at the moment. This is gold. The flavor is spectacular. It's a monovarietal. This is a cultivation that comes from a very remote area. It is in Campania, and the area where this olive oil comes from is called Salvitelle. It's about 850 meters above sea level, and it's very remote, which means your particulates of pollution in the atmosphere are pretty much absent, and it's a monovarietal. The olive from which this olive oil is made is called Frantoiana. It is beautiful, fruity, has a lovely deep profile, buttery. It's quite nice. It's got a kick to it because it's fresh. So it's going to sort of like, but I like that. It's going to be up to me. So this is now going to go on the stove, and then the clams are going to go in as soon as the garlic starts to sizzle. As soon as you start seeing that garlic sizzling, those clams are going in. Do remember, if you are going to put the clams through this ordeal, make sure you give them a good glass of wine, okay? So don't put cheap stuff in there. Good vino, white wine, not red, white. They don't like red wine. I tried, it doesn't work. Nearly there. The garlic is sizzling, in go the clams. You can hear how nice and lively that sizzle is. Shake them about a bit, lid goes on. Now, I wait for the temperature to go back up because there is a dip in the heat chain as the clams have gone in because they're cold, obviously. So the white wine goes in once that temperature is a little bit up. You'll start seeing them opening up a little bit. They will release seawater. Now remember, when you're doing dishes with clams, never use salt. It's never a good idea to use salt. Use white wine. Drink it, not... You know, you're going to give some to them, but you need to give more to yourself. Yeah, it's starting to work. I can tell you. Now I've been generous. I've used, I would say, a very generous glassful. Okay, now you can, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but the sizzling has now gone down. The wine is going to come up to temperature very quickly, and these clams are going to start opening. Now I'm going to cook them for about 15 minutes. That's about it. Okay, and 15 minutes to do the job. Remember, when you're cooking shellfish, generally their bacterial load is high because they come out of the sea. So you want to be safe, and you want to give them a good cooking time so that you're eliminating any bacteria that could be present. That's generally a health and safety recommendation. That's about it. But if you drink enough wine and you have enough alcohol content in your blood, well, that does take care of everything else. So you're going to be good anyway. So just saying. Primitivo, very important. Primitivo is a grape that comes from the southern region of Italy. You'll find it in Puglia, you'll find it in some parts of Campania, Sicily. It's grown mostly in the south. It's a beautiful red wine. It delivers those lovely plummy notes, velvet, full fruit. It's silky but robust. This particular one is just so smooth, beautiful fruit. It is evocative of the summer. I literally call Primitivi sun juice. In literature, when you start studying Italian wine, they do refer to the Primitivo as a grape. They call it the chocolate of the south. And that is because of its velvety smoothness. It really is spectacular. I love a good Primitivo. But if I don't open this bottle and pour a very generous glass to the cameraman, I don't think I'm going to get the outcome that I wish. So we're going to have to sort of like make him happy and pop one of these open and give him a copious amounts of Primitivo. Right. We need a lovely glass for your red wine, please. Whichever you want. Brilliant. And that's that taken care of. Remember that when you're pouring red wine, a little bit of air in it does help. And the reason being because that grape juice has been trapped in that bottle sometimes for years. And so it's a little bit sort of like, you know, castigated. And when it comes out into the air, that oxygenation helps it to open up and breathe a little bit. And that is just spectacular. Over to you. Now, with the oyster mushrooms, we're going to start from the base, not from the top, from the base, because it's easier to just pull them apart that way. Mushrooms and clams go very well together, and it's a lovely dish. It's a really good risotto that we're going to make. We're also going to use some parmesan. Yes, it does go. I understand that, you know, a lot of my guests, when they come to me, they say, oh, you know, I went to a restaurant, sorry, in wherever that may be, and the waiter got very upset because he wanted Parmesan cheese on our seafood dish. Well, it does depend on the seafood dish, so the waiter may be right in certain instances. However, generally speaking, clams and Parmesan cheese, like with shrimp, you can do, just in case you're wondering if it's happened to you, you have been vindicated. Ultimately, it's your preference. It's what you like. But if you do want to enjoy certain dishes for what they are, then stick to what the recommendation is from the kitchen. Now then, I've opened them all up. Now, this little bit here is a bit woody, so I do tend to remove it, that bit, okay, because it's where it's attached to the main bulb. Okay. However, don't throw it away. One of the things you can do with this is you can pan fry it in butter and garlic. If you want, I can show you another video. And then use some of that lovely chicken stock and some white wine when you're doing them. And then you sort of like, you reduce it and that, put it in a blender with a little teeny tiny bit of chicken stock, and then you blend it. And then you've got a lovely mushroom pate that you can put on crostini, bruschetta. There's another dish which comes in. You see how very little if you think about it, gets thrown away in the kitchen if you know what you're doing with your ingredients. Husbandry of the home is a very important thing. So we're just going to go about that one. I'm going to put these to the side because I will show you, and we'll go about it afterwards now. So put those to the side and go and visit them later. Garlic, obviously. Can never be too wrong with garlic, can you? It's like if you want to know if you've got vampires in the house, just use a bit of garlic. Now I do tend to remove garlic though after I've finished with it, so it's not in the main dish. Otherwise it may be, you get a mouthful of it within that particular context, it becomes dissonance a bit too much, so do remove it. I do. Of course, if you like garlic, leave it in. Olive oil. We're using olive oil, I'm not going to do butter. One of the reasons, if I do risotto and I want to add butter in it, I don't tend to do it in the beginning, I use it right at the end, okay? Right, let's chop these mushrooms up. You don't have to be particular about this one, you can go any which way, but they do need to be chopped small. And that's how I go about it. I sort of like layer them a little bit and then I just chop through them and in they go. Right, that's that done. Now these are going to go on, I'm going to sizzle them away. I'm going to let those cool down a little bit because to handle them this hot is not advisable. That olive oil is something else. It's amazing. Bit of salt, can't go wrong. In the mushrooms. For the risotto, we are going to be using a grain varietal which is called Carnaroli. Yeah, it's one of the best ones to use. It has a lovely al dente consistency that tends to stay. Mushrooms could do with a little bit of white vino. They too get thirsty, bless them. I'm starting to drink all my wine. This is becoming upsetting, but never mind. I put 5 bottles in the fridge. Can't go wrong. Now I haven't added any chili, I haven't added anything else. And the reason being is because that's going to be down to your personal preference. I'm just showing you the recipe bare, and you can add things to it. It can be spicy if you so wish. But I prefer this particular dish not spicy when it's a risotto. I prefer it as is. If you want it spicy, then you go a pasta dish. It actually comes out better that way. Personal preference. Now I've seen videos of people, chefs, that boil the shells afterwards in water. The flavor profile you're going to get out of the boiled shells is very mild. It's the main juice you want. Focus there. and the clams fall out very easily. See how many are coming out already empty? So I am gonna gently toast the Carnaroli, very gently. We're not gonna be aggressive about it. This is all the juice that came out of those clams that we sauteed earlier. A bit of this is that white wine which we very generously added. Be generous with wine. In fact, you know, do things by method, right? Oh, nectar of the gods. Now, this is good to go. Remember what I said to you. There is salt water in here. There is salt in the mushrooms. So I'm only going to be using 1 or 2 ladles of clam juice. The rest we're going to do something else with it. I'm going to show you how to do other things with it. The reason being is I don't want it to become too salty. Now the secret for making a good risotto is agitation. You want to get that lovely starch chain out to make it really nice and a full amalgam. Yeah? The clams get added at the end. The mushrooms at the end. Right now we're only interested in doing the risotto itself. I am not using a part-boiled rice. I'm using a rice that you need to cook right from the beginning. Right? I don't like using part-boiled anything, personally. That's for touristy dishes, and we don't do touristy stuff in this kitchen. Cheers!
Don't forget the love.
Wine is an essential element of life. Where would we be without it? We're literally 1 minute from the end. Gas is off. I'm just going to chop some parsley real quick, okay? And you're good to go. You can do that later, but that's what I want. That's going to go in that risotto. Let's leave it there. It's literally al dente. It's finished. That's the end amalgam. In go the clams. Oh, there's 2 left. We don't want to miss out on them. Off goes the gas. Just a splash to liven it up. I'm going to put some 42 months Parmesan cheese grated in, not too much, you can then top up. Just a splash more of stock to moisten. Bit of fresh parsley. And you're good to go. So delicate, so good. Hang on, wait. Why not? Oh, that's the life. That really is the life. Oh yeah, I'm happy. Yum.